Welcome to the Bourbon Retriever. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about some of the latest TTB labels that have been approved. Some have already been released because it has been a while since I've done this, but others won't be released until next year. Many bottles on this list are ones that I definitely want, but others are bottles that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. What are they? Let's go and jump into it. Now, before we jump into the list, I want to let you guys know that I will be doing a live stream on Wednesday, October 1st at 7 p.m. where I'll be doing a blind of various 12-year-old whiskeys, including this Lot B and this Eagle Rare 12. And on that live stream, one lucky winner will win a sample pack of that 12-year blind. And on the live stream, we're gonna be doing a quiz-style game show about facts of the channel here, the Bourbon Retriever. So if you're interested in winning that sample pack, including the Lot B and the Eagle Rare 12, brush up on your Bourbon Retriever history because the winner of that will be getting the sample pack. So make sure you hit that notification bell in the bottom corner of this video. That way you do not miss when I go live on Wednesday. So the first bottle we're gonna talk about is probably the bottle that people have been clamoring for most to come back. And it is a version of the Cheesy Gold Foil from the Austin Nichols Distillery, previously before what is now the Wild Turkey Distillery. These were beautiful bottles, nice cheesy gold foil. They actually weren't called cheesy gold foil, that's just the nickname they've gotten because of the wrapping on the outside. And Wild Turkey has now brought back, I was just gonna say a version of this. To be honest, I don't really see much similarities here besides maybe just trying to use the name of it. They're calling it the Gold Foil Edition. However, it is 16 years old and 120 proof. And the Cheesy Gold Foils were not 16 years and they were not 120 proof. And the label here doesn't look anything like the old label. So I don't know if this is kind of be a marketing ploy. They're just kind of using the name to get a lot of money, because I guarantee you this bottle is gonna be very expensive. Like the Russell's Reserve 15 was $250, so I'm guaranteeing you this is gonna be like $300 probably for the 16-year-old. However, I will give Bruce some credit because he did go on a live stream and talk about the gold foils of the past and mention how just everything is different from back then, and for them to create something that had a similar profile taste is going to have to be much older than 12 years old. So I'm hoping that this is blended to taste very similar to those older Cheesy Gold foils. But anytime a brand tries to lean on nostalgia, I just get a little skeptical. It's like whenever they make a sequel to a movie, 2 and 3 of whatever series is typically not better than the first, and they're trying to ride the laurels of that first movie, and I'm a little worried that this is something kind of similar. They're just kind of riding off the coattails of the name, especially when nothing about it is really similar to the prior release other than a hint at the name. So the next one we're going to talk about is a private pick that I was a part of. I'm telling you guys because I think we did a fantastic job with the tater sticker on it, and it is an E.H. Taylor single barrel. We're calling it the Warehouse C Flood Survivor because this is from Warehouse C. If you know anything about the warehouses at Buffalo Trace, Warehouse C was a warehouse made by Colonel H. Taylor himself, one of his favorite warehouses on the campus, and is where a lot of the best E.H. Taylors come out of. I think this is the best E.H. Taylor single barrel that I have ever had. It is a nice oaky E.H. Taylor, which is very off profile for E.H. Taylor. Typically it's a very light, bright fruitiness, but this is a nice velvety, silky, oaky profile H. Taylor. It is absolutely amazing. We're calling this the Flood Survivor because we picked it before the horrific floods that happened on Frankfurt. And the Warehouse C itself got pretty flooded, so there was concern about this barrel, but lucky enough it did survive. And we did some really cool things with the sticker here. On the right hand side, the OFC, we have it kind of flooded a little bit from the original. I got some barrels floating. On the left hand side is where E.H. Taylor Colonel himself would be. We did a nice little graphic of the pick team who was a part of it. I think we did a great job with this. Now, how to get access to this barrel. It's going to be tough, I'm going to be honest. It is a private pick with a local liquor store, Esquire Liquors. It's already going to be allocated to the top customer spin for the first half of this year. However, Some bottles will most likely be able to get through monthly lotteries or things in the future. He's still deciding how to do that. There's a chance I will have a couple on the channel here. So if that is something you're interested, definitely keep track of my Patreon. That is where I'll post if I do have access to any of these bottles to give to you guys. But if you are unable to get this bottle, don't fret. We actually have another pick coming in. It's gonna be a Blanton's Gold. I cannot wait to go down to that pick. We're gonna be going down to Buffalo Trace sometime in November to do that pick. I am so excited to do that. So if that is something you're interested in, definitely hop over to Esquire and check them out. If you live in the DMV, you should definitely be going to that store. It is my home store. They have the best prices in the DMV area. I'll leave a description below about how to access the store. Next is one of the most hyped bottles and probably the most disappointing bottle every year for people who actually end up getting it, and it is the Old Forester Birthday Bourbon. This year, it's gonna be a 12-year-old expression coming in at 92 proof. These are coming from Warehouse K, floors I1 and 5. Now, even though these Old Foresters are typically always letdowns, I am still hunting one for myself. I do not own a birthday bourbon, and I really want one in my selection here. Now, these are expensive. They're like $200 bottles, which is a lot of money for only a 12-year-old product that is only 92 proof too. I did have a sample of this bottle when I was in Kentucky, maybe like a week ago. I was able to try it at Evergreen, and it was, I think, good. I enjoyed it. The issue is it worth the $200? And I'm gonna say no. It is not worth that $200. Now, will I still buy it? Yes, because I want an Old Forester birthday bourbon so bad. But for those out there who are more rational with their spending, this is not one of the bottles to be paying $200 for. I think there are other bottles that are much better at that price point. So if you're only gonna buy one or two, this is definitely not one to have high on your list. Now, the next three here, I'm pretty sure are just label changes for a Bardstown Bourbon Company. This is all of their origin bottles. They have a wheat, a rye, a bottle and bond, and I'm pretty sure these are just label changes because they're also still only 6 years old. They're not changing the year on it. It's the same mash bill. I really think they're just changing the labels on these, and it makes sense whenever you have kind of a market downturn in products, you have sales dropping. One of the ways to boost sales is to change the label. People feel like they need to get the new one because the label's different. Some people get kind of confused in the marketplace and think it might be a new product, so they end up buying that too. So this is just a way that companies change up the product to help boost sales a little bit. Now, if there is anything different, these, please let me know. I could be very much wrong, but just reading the stats on these bottles, it seems like these are very similar to the current ones. I am not a fan of the new label. It looks like they're kind of topography maps. I think they're a little too busy. I like a much more clean, simple design. But if you prefer these new labels, definitely let me know because I could be in the minority on this. Now, this next bottle might be the first Bernheim that I ever buy, and it is the Bernheim 20th anniversary, a 10-year age-dated product coming in at 115 proof. So currently they have the Bernheim small batch, which I've never been the biggest fan of. They are wheat whiskeys. They are not bourbons. I think last year or 2 years ago, they released the cast strength version. I want to say those are 6 to 7 years old. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure they're like that, or that 6 and 7 range. And to be honest, it was fine. I didn't think it was anything spectacular or special. I think the Larceny wheated bourbons are better, so I've been buying those instead of the Bernheim. But with this being 10 years old, this is definitely one I am probably going to go out and try and get, as long as it's at a reasonable price point. Like if this thing is in that $60 price tag, I will give it a shot because it is older, but we'll see. Definitely want at least minimum, I would like to try a bar pour just to see how it is. Now, the next one we're gonna talk about is a bottle that I don't know what the distribution is gonna be on it. It seems like it might be a local thing. Bowman is releasing a neighborhood pick of Oldtown, Alexandria. So if you guys who don't know out there, I am from Oldtown, Alexandria. So I really want this bottle because it has my town on it. Not just Alexandria, but Oldtown, Alexandria. It says it's a small batch, but it also says pick. So I don't know if this is a blend of a couple barrels or if it is a pick of one barrel and they just didn't change the label on it. I know a couple of bars in Oldtown have done picks in the past. They've done makers. I think they may have done one or two others. So I don't know if this is some type of collaboration between the bars to do a pick at Bowman, or if this is something else like broader, like if Bowman doing these for different neighborhoods. I really don't know. But regardless, this is definitely a bottle that I want to get just because it has the Oldtown Alexandria on it. And it should be at a relatively decent price. These are like $35. So to me, that's worth it. But again, I don't know how big distribution this bottle is going to be. Now, this next bottle is probably the bottle that I am most disappointed in because I had high hopes for it. And it is the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Bourbon Batch C925. This is coming in at 129 proof. That's a good proof. The issue is the age, though. This is going to be a 9-year, 1-month-old batch product. This is really sad. These Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs used to be 12 years old. They're what I cut my teeth on when I got into bourbon. They're like literally the bottle that got me excited about bourbon. So this kind of hits home a little bit that the product is deteriorating on this front just because I have a personal connection to this brand. And it's not like Elijah Craig doesn't have products. They have older age stocks. They're putting it into these more expensive releases like the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection, the Parkers, or William Hill, other stuff. So they have older age product. They're just putting it into the products that they can make more money on. Whereas these Elijah Craigs, they're only like $80. So it doesn't make as much of a business decision to be putting in your higher age dated products into them. I'm hoping with the bourbon glut downturn, whatever you want to call it, that the ages in these start going back up as demand goes down. They can't sell as much. Maybe they make fewer batches of these, smaller batches, and they can bring the age dated up on it. That is my hope for this. If they do keep doing this lower age dated product for Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs, is to do what Bardstown does and have the percentages on the side of the different years of the blend. Like if this 9-year-old is only like 10% of the blend, that drastically changes the equation for me. If it's like a majority, like 14, 13-year-old barrels in there, it gets me much more excited. So if there's older stuff in here, I think Elijah Craig, you need to start putting percentages on the side of the bottle or somewhere that people can read about it. Because when you're releasing batch products with that kind of age statement, it's just a bottle that I'm going to constantly keep skipping. Now we're going to do a 180 and talk about an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof that I am super excited to get, and it is the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Rye. This is the first release they've ever done. It is going to be a 12-year age-dated product coming in at 108 proof. Sign me up because this is a bottle that I really want. And spoiler alert, it is a bottle that I actually already got. This was released in Kentucky. It was actually the second day that it's ever been released was when I was down there doing a barrel pick, and I was fortunate enough to grab this bottle. Everything about this is right up my alley. It is an older age dated product. They're putting out a 12-year product, as well as we just talked about the bourbon, which is going to be a 9-year, and the proof on it, a 108 proof. Sign me up. I am chasing these lower proof whiskey, higher age dated products that have a ton of flavor. I don't need that proof burn anymore. As I'm getting older, these hangovers are no joke. And I'd much rather be drinking a low proof whiskey that I can enjoy a deep, rich flavor than something that's high proof that's gonna just knock my socks off and, be honest, not have as much flavor as some of these lower proof guys. Now, I have not opened it yet. I don't know what this tastes like, but I will be putting a review out. Definitely hit the subscribe button if you want to see that review when I put it out. But I would highly encourage you guys to get this bottle because I'm a little worried they're going to do what they did to the barrel proof bourbons, and you're going to start seeing lower age dated products on these going forward. This might be some of the oldest that they release in a good amount of time. So I would definitely go get it for that fact. And typically when they do these brand releases, they try and make their first batch or first couple single barrels the best stuff they put out because they're trying to build a brand. So I would highly expect this to be some of the best versions of the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof that they end up putting out. But I won't know for certain until I open this, and you're definitely going to stay tuned for that review when it comes out. So next we're going to talk about another limited edition product from one of the big boy distilleries, and it is Four Roses 2025 limited edition bourbon. This is going to be a blend of 3 13-year-olds, OBSV, OBSK, and an OESV, and then also only 10% of a 19-year OESV. The stats on this is also 109 proof, and the MSRP is going to be $250. To be honest, this is going to be a pass for me. $250, I think, is a little absurd for the stats on this bottle, it's only 10% 19-year-old. It is 90% a 13-year-old product that Four Roses is asking $250 for. You're a legacy distillery. I think you should be doing a better job on your price structure for your LEs. You have much better margins than these smaller craft distilleries, and I would expect a much better stats for a bottle that you're asking $250 for. Every year these LEs prices keep going up and up, and it feels like sometimes these stats are just not keeping up with that price inflation. This is going to be a decent size release at 16,854 bottles. So again, it's limited. It's going to be hard to get, but that is a decent bottle count for these LEs. They're normally around like 15,000, so there's a little more than normal. Now, I have not tasted this. I do not know what it is like, but based on the stats and the price point, this is definitely be on the very low end of what I want at allocation season at the end of the year. Now, if you've been following Four Roses, you'll know that they are doing 100 proof versions of all their recipes. The next two ones coming out are OESF and OESQ. They're getting through all 10 recipes, and I think they said a 3-year time period. So if you're looking to collect these are the next ones that are coming out. I think these are all going to be tier 1 going forward. In the first couple, they had some higher tiers like 6 and 5, 4. But I think going forward, they announced that all these are being tier 1s. Now, I originally was buying all of these red labels because I wanted all 10. But to be honest, I don't see myself ever drinking through all of them. So I am done buying these single barrel recipes. I think they are going to be semi-collector items because I don't know if they're going to be doing this stuff again. But at the end of the day, whiskey's meant to be drank, and I don't need 10 of these bottles just taking up space. Now, they are all great price points. They're like at $50, $40 for these. So that is a great price point for 100 proof a whiskey, especially if you like one of these single barrel recipes, like you like the OESQ. This is definitely for you because now you can get these at like half the price of the barrel proofs. Finally, we have one more Four Roses bottle to talk about here. This is the third one on the list, and it's the one that's shrouded in the most mystery to me, and it is the Anthology release. It is a 21-year-old bottle. This is going to be coming out in 2026, next year. I am a little confused on what exactly this is going to be. Because if you look at the bottom of the bottle, it says it's going to be 100 proof, and it has a barrel number and a warehouse number, which makes me think these are going to be single barrels. If you look on the back of the label, it has a place where you're going to write in the recipe and the bottle count. They have in handwritten here the OESO, so I don't know if it's just going to be that one recipe or they're going to have multiple recipes. And then what also throws me off is it says it's out of 400. I know this is just placeholders. These aren't actually what they are. But these are single barrels. That 400 is really high. I would not expect a 21-year-old product to have anything close to 400 bottles in it unless these are just rebarreled bottles or something. So we'll see if these end up being batch products, if they're single barrels, if there's multiple recipes, or if it's just this one recipe, or even this recipe, because again, it doesn't necessarily need to be that recipe. This is just for the TGB label approval. Now, I do think this is a new series that Four Roses is going to be doing, because if you look at the top of the back, it says Chapter 1. I don't know if it's going to be each of the recipes, or they're going to be telling a story about Four Roses, because this is called The Origin, or what they're really going to be doing with these. But a 21-year-old Four Roses bottle, sign me up. I am going to be all over this, as long as the price point's not too ridiculous on it. We talked about the Four Roses LE being 250. So if this is 250 or lower, I will probably get it because it is an older age shade product. It's the next, series they're doing, so I want to give them a shot, see how it is. So it is a bottle I am very excited in trying to get, but it's going to come down to the price point and what other information they release in the press release when they finally come out this, because it is definitely a bottle I'm interested in tracking and just seeing what it might be going forward. The next bottle we're going to talk about is another, I'm pretty sure going to be a local only bottle, and it is coming from the George Washington Distillery in Mount Vernon. It says on the label, distilled, aged, and bottled by hand. Now, they have been producing stuff for a while there. It's a very small operation, and historically I've never talked about them because it's all very young product. Like, I think all the stuff in the past have been like 2-3 years old. But what got me excited for this bottle is it says on the label, aged over 8 years old. That has me excited. It is distilled by them and over 8 years old. sign me up, because I would love to try this. Being a local distillery, small operation, tied to my local neighborhood history here, it is a bottle that I am going to be all over. It says it uses the historic recipe from the time in the area, which means it should be a higher rye, because this whole area was more of a rye forward whiskey. But this is definitely one I would be signing up for. If you know how to get this or what's going on with it, let me know in the comments, because this is definitely a bottle that I personally want to get and see how it is. So the next two bottles on this list are coming from the Heaven Hill Distillery, and the first one we're going to talk about is the 90th anniversary bottle. It says 2025 on the right, so I don't know if this is actually coming out in 2025. They're celebrating the 90th anniversary, so it makes sense to be coming out this year. It is coming out 107 proof, great proof point. But what gets me a little worried about this bottle is the ages on it. So it is a blend of 70% 9-year-old and 30% 9-year-old. Looks like it's going to be in this like heritage style box. It doesn't say heritage on it anywhere, so I don't think it's actually part of the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection. So if this is actually a reasonable price, like we're talking, gosh, maybe a 9-year-old, if this is anywhere under $100, I will be interested in buying it. But with it having a similar bottle shape to the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection, I would expect this to be closer to $200. So that has me concerned. So it's all coming down to the price point on this, because I am interested in trying this. It is ECVP mash bill. I love ECVPs. 30% is in heavy char barrels, so we're going to probably get a little more oak influence on these barrels. And they normally do a decent job of blending there at Heaven Hill. So this definitely be one that I'm interested in, but it's going to be all dependent on the price point. And this next bottle on the list is going to explain why I have hesitation about that price point. And it is the Heaven Hill Master Distilleries Unity. This bottle is a $225 bottle. I think that's too expensive. It is a 27 barrel blend. And one of those barrels is a super old 34-year-old barrel. I don't know how much was left in that barrel. I imagine very, very little. And I don't know how much of that barrel actually impacted the flavor of the blend. The rest of it is a 14-year-old, 8-year-old, and 6-year-old whiskey. This to me feels more like a marketing thing. I bet you that 34-year-old barrel tasted like tar, and there's no way they could bottle it because it would be too short yield. It probably did not taste that great. So the best thing they came up with was blending it into the rest of the stuff and make it a little bit of a marketing thing for these 4,000 bottles or so, and then charge just a ridiculous price at $225. Because if this is actually 4,000 bottles, you're talking about that 34-year-old barrel probably had maybe 50 bottles in it left. So that's gonna be a very small percentage of those 4,000 bottle blend is going to be that old bottle. So I don't really think it's probably going to affect the flavor that much. And I think it's just, again, a marketing thing to try and drive up the hype for this bottle and justify the price point they have on it. The next one we're going to be talking about is coming from Barrell Bourbon. This is a 12-year-old, 118 proof product that is finished in toasted American cask. Barrell's been putting out great stuff, but that's not the reason I'm going to talk about this label. The reason I have it talk about today is because it says member exclusive 2025 on it. Now, I don't know exactly what this is member exclusive of. I don't know if this is like a Costco or a Sam's Club thing where you have bottles that are member exclusive for that, or if Barrell is starting their own member club. This year, you've seen a lot of brands. Bardstown had started a members club. I think that was like a grand. Heaven Hill started one. I think it was a Connoisseur Circle or something like that. That's like $2,000. And a lot of these distillers are starting to do this process to help get a little extra funding. So how it works is you pay $1,000, $2,000. The distillery ends up automatically recouping that money, and then you get the option to end up buying bottles down the line. So Heaven Hill, you get a chance to buy the 4 major bottles, but you have to also still pay for that bottles. The membership just gives you the right to get them. So this makes sense for people who value time over money. You don't want to spend time running around, and you're guaranteed the bottle. However, those programs are not meant for me. I do not have the cash to be putting down $2,000 for a club. There's plenty of whiskey coming out. If I miss a release, I'll get the next one, it's fine. But I think this is a trend we're going to see a lot of distilleries do going forward, because it is an automatic revenue subscription, guaranteed funds that the distillery can pull in even during these downturns where sales aren't as good, especially as whiskey becomes more commonplace to ship across states and as those laws become looser. I definitely think you're going to see almost every major distillery have their own type of members club, because it's a nice revenue generating subscription. There's a ton of companies that do the subscription model because of the reliability of the income coming in, whereas when you're just selling bourbon, sometimes it sells, sometimes it doesn't sell, and that can be unpredictable, whereas these membership exclusive things have a nice reoccurring fee that these distilleries can rely on. So the next brand we're going to talk about is Mahogany Fox. I have not had any of this stuff yet, but a little bit of background on this brand. It is founded by the former wife of the old Carter brand. That was a husband and wife duo. They had a messy public divorce, and they split off each other from that old Carter brand. The husband ended up getting the brand back with a couple other investors, but the wife now is off doing her own project under this Mahogany Fox. And the reason I'm excited for these is because she was the brains behind the operation of the blending program at old Carter. And to be honest, when you are a non-distilling producer, the blending is the most important part at that company. Blending barrels is extremely difficult. It is not just 1 + 1 = 2. And they put out some fantastic products there at Old Carter. So if you can do a lot of that similar stuff here at Mahogany Fox, sign me up. Now I'm going to be skipping the straight American whiskeys. I'm not an American whiskey fan, but when I see her start putting out bourbons that have a higher age-dated product on them, those are going to be ones that I am going to be very interested in trying to get. Next is another bottle that I am excited to hunt for, and it is Joseph Magnus bringing back their single barrel program. Now, if you have been in bourbon for a while, you'll remember back in the day, prior to the massive boom, Magnus did their own single barrels, and there were these white label products, and now Magnus is finally bringing them back. I am going to be excited for these bottles if they can start releasing older age-dated products in them, like what made Magnus big to begin with. Now, if these are some younger age-dated products, it's going to be a pass for me, but I have hope for these that they are going to be going back to the old stuff they have, because some of those older Magnus blends had some nice old age product. I know that stuff's probably long gone, but hopefully they have some new barrels in the program that can recreate that old goodness that they had. So these are ones I'm definitely looking out for at my local liquor stores to see if they do picks of these, and be excited to try them. Definitely try these bottles before you buy them. With them being picks, any reputable liquor store will let you try them before you buy them. But definitely keep an eye out these and see if they put out some older age-dated products. And I don't know what the price point on these is going to be, but as long as it's at a reasonable price and it is ultra aged, it's definitely one that I'm interested in trying to get. Now, next on this list is coming from the Michter's Distillery, and it is their toasted sour mash. Every year they do some toasted French product. It's either the sour mash, the rye, the bourbon, and this year it is the sour mash release. I actually ended up selling this bottle at the airport in Louisville. So if you're flying in and out of Louisville, check the liquor store inside the airport, because they had these there. I ended up passing on it because they wanted $160. That to me is a little much for what this is, a non-age dated product, one that I wasn't able to try. It is hard for me to pay that money without trying it beforehand. The retail price on these is supposed to be $110. At $110, that is much more of a gamble for me to try than that $160. And the proof on this is 86 proof. This is definitely one I'm interested in seeing if I can get a bar pour of, because sometimes toasted products aren't necessarily up my alley. But if I see this at 110, I'm gonna probably buy it, because it's not a bottle that I'll be able to come back to if I do like it at a bar, because these are gonna fly quickly off the shelf. So if I see 110, I'm gonna get it, but preferably I'm gonna try and see if I can get a bar pour of this before I buy it, just to see if it is up my alley, because I love a lot of Michter's products. They're putting out some great whiskey, especially the 10 and the 20-year-old. Those are some of the best whiskey in the market. So this is one I'm interested in, but we'll see if I actually can find it. Next, we're gonna talk about the latest finishing bottle coming from Maker's Mark, the Steward's release. This is gonna be coming out in January of 2026, and it is the third installment of 5 finishing barrels they're gonna do. This one is finished in virgin toasted American oak staves. If you follow makers, basically flip back and forth between French oak and American oak. And this version is the American oak, coming in at 109.2 proof. These have been really good the past two releases. I preferred the Keepers, no, the Heart. I prefer the Heart release, which was the French oak one. The Keepers was the one that was just released, and now they're doing the Steward's release. These always come in at decent price points. Typically, I think they're somewhere around $70, which I think is a good value for these bottles that they are putting out. Definitely one that I'll be trying to see if I can get a taste of. The Virgin Oak ones, these aren't necessarily my favorite of the two. I like the French Oak more, but again, these are great products. If you don't have any makers, definitely one to look out for. If I did not have already a couple makers, it would be one that I would personally be trying to get because again, these are some great bottles they put out for great price points. Now the next is a set of bottles that I will not be buying even if I see them, and it is the Buffalo Trace Prohibition collection. This is a series of bottles where they try and revive old brands that they own and used to produce in the past. My issue with these is the price point. These are $1,000 for 5 or 6 375s, and the other issue is there's no like guarantee that these even taste similar to what the older whiskey tastes like. It really feels like they're just kind of reviving old brands, putting on a bottle, and trying to sell it. So if you like old logos, maybe this is up your alley. But the fact that I don't even know if they're really trying to match the taste to them, and the ages on them, there's no age statements on a lot of these, or any of them, I don't think really. It's just a bottles that I personally cannot justify paying that $1,000 for. It's more of just a collector's piece than I think really for someone to drink. Now, one thing I will note on this is it says it's a 2025 release, and we're running out of time here. I have not seen any press releases on this stuff. I'm a little surprised that they're trying to release it this late because they already did a Prohibition collection earlier in the year, and they have their BTACs coming out, they have their Pappies coming out. So it seems a little odd that they're going to be trying to do a third Prohibition release this year. But it says it's a 2025 release, so we should be seeing this sometime in the next couple of months. So Buffalo Trace recently launched the Sazerac 100 proof rye, but they have a new one coming out that they just put on the TTB, and it is the 125 proof, foolproof, non-chilled filtered version. This is one I am very excited to try because I think this is going to be at a very reasonable price point. Because if you read the back of it, they talk about it being a cocktail whiskey. So for the fact that they're kind of branding this as a cocktail bottle, makes me think that it's going to be coming in at a much cheaper price point. There's no age statement on this, so I don't know if this is going to be a similar age to the 100 proof or the other shelf rye they have, or this is going to be a younger version or not. And I think Buffalo Trace is releasing this in response to what they're hearing from the industry. A lot of people have been wanting their old fashions proofed up. And how you do that is you put a higher proof alcohol in that old fashioned. So when the ice goes in there, when you add the syrup and the bitters, it gets less diluted as you're drinking it. So I think this is in response so bartenders have a higher proof option to put in their drinks. And for me personally, the current Sazerac Rye is my favorite product to be putting in cocktails. That spice it has matches very well with the sweetness from simple syrup. So I'm super excited to try this neat or in a cocktail and see how it is. And then add the fact that it's a non-chill filtered, sign me up because this is definitely one that I would love to try. So we have another local brand coming in next, and it is coming from Sagamore Spirits. And the reason I'm talking about this bottle is because it is a high rye bourbon. Sagamore has only released ryes to date. Only ryes. All the stuff they have out is ryes. You have been able to get some source bourbon from them. They source bourbon to the Bourbon Junkies and Barrell. So their bourbon has made it other products, but Sagamore itself has not released any bourbons, and this is the first one that I know of. It is going to be 6 years old and 118 proof. It does say limited availability, so I don't know how big this release is, if it's going to be a one-off or a yearly thing. My guess it's going to be a one-off, says limited availability. But I am going to be all over this because some of those single barrels that the Bourbon Junkies had were great bourbons at that 6-year-old age statement. I am super excited to get this, especially if it comes in at a reasonable price, which I fully expect every Sagamore release has always been at a very reasonable price point. Another bonus to this, it is 100% Maryland made. They didn't source it, they distilled this themselves. And I'm really hoping that this does really well, because I would love to see Sagamore start producing more bourbons in their lineup, because the bourbons that they have released through other brands have been absolutely fantastic. And if they can get these things up to like 12 years plus, I think they can compete with all the legacy distilleries. And I love how they have the mash bill here. They're being very transparent, 60% corn, 25% rye, 15% malted barley. That is a high rye there at 25%. But again, I'm telling you, the past releases they've done of this to others have been fantastic. And it is definitely one that I am super excited to try and get. So the next one is another one from Buffalo Trace Distillery. It is their single oak project. I'm a little confused on this label because so previously the single oak projects were an experiment where they were testing different cuts of the wood, like lower, middle, top. They were testing the char. On the back of the label, it lists all the different things that they tested, like entry proof and a bunch of other stuff. And the result, from my understanding of this project, ended up being that they found out the current Buffalo Trace product was the actual winner. They did this whole experiment to see, what is the best combination of this, and they found out that they were actually already making the one that received the most votes. However, when you read the back of this label, it says that this bottle is the one that received the most votes. So I don't know if they're recreating it or they're just taking some current Buffalo Trace product that would normally go in the Buffalo Trace bottle and just rebottling it under the single oak to be able to sell more products. Because this is the same stuff that would go in the traditional Buffalo Trace bottle, I think that is a little bit of a marketing gimmick. So I don't know if that's true. It's the same proof point, 90 proof. Now, the one positive thing I'll say about this bottle is they are in 375s. I want more of these distillers to do that 375s, get in more hands at a cheaper cost. But if you guys have any more information on this, definitely let me know if there's more to it than just being Buffalo Trace juice. Now, the next one I am going to personally boycott because I think they're being a little deceptive, not a lot deceptive in this bottle brand that they're doing, and it is the Stitzel Reserve 31-year-old bourbon whiskey. They're trying to make this seem like it is Stitzel Weller juice, having Stitzel Weller all over this, but if you read the fine print on the bottle, it says bottled exclusively for them. So this is not Stitzel Weller juice. They're just trying to throw as much as they can on this bottle to make you think that it is. And they did this before. This is not the first time they've done this. And this bottle is going to be very expensive, like absurdly expensive. So for all the reasons above, this is going to be one I'm passing. Mostly, again, from boycotting, because I want these brands to realize that this is unacceptable, that they should not be trying to deceive us in their labeling. And I want to send a message that they should not be doing this forward. So I'm personally be boycotting this bottle. I'm not going to be buying it. I'm not going to be taking a sample of it. It's just one that I really think we need to be sending a message to these guys to stop doing things like this going forward. So the next two bottles we're going to be talking about are coming from the Buffalo Trace Distillery, and they are two Weller products. The first one is the Daniel Weller Spelt Wheat Recipe, coming in at 94 proof. This is going to be a pass for me. The last Daniel Weller did not get great reviews and was absurdly expensive. I don't know what spelt wheat is, but I know this is going to be expensive, and so that reason itself, it's going to be a pass for me. It seems like Buffalo Trace is just constantly putting out these ridiculously priced bottles with new labels. So personally, this one's going to be a pass for me. However, the next Weller is one I actually would enjoy trying to taste, but I don't think I have the money for it, and it is the Weller Millennium. This is uncut and filtered, coming in at 128 proof. And if you look at the back, this has some really old whiskey in it. 40% 2005, 50% 2003, 3% 2001, and 7% 2006. That is a 90% 20 and 22-year-old whiskey that is at 128 proof. That has all the markings of a bottle that I want to try. The last Weller Millennium I heard was really good. However, it was an absurd price point. It was like $7,000. It is still sitting at almost every liquor store that got a bottle. because no one is wanting to pay that $7,000. So I'm hoping that this comes in at a lower price point. I hope Buffalo Trace learned that people aren't going to be paying that $7,000 for this bottle. But even if it is a lightly cheaper, like say it's $3,000, it's still gonna be a bottle I'm gonna have to pass on. But if I can somehow get a sample of this, I would pay for a bar pour sample of this because of how well received the last Weller was and the stats on this bottle. But let me know if this is something that you're interested in, or if you're kind of have given up on all the pricey Buffalo Trace stuff that they're releasing. So the next bottle we're talking about is, I think, the first time I've ever mentioned this on a TDB release video, and it is Willett. They are coming out with a straight Kentucky bourbon small batch purple top whiskey. Now, they previously have done small batches of the Ryes. I think those were 3 and then 4 years old now. But this is going to be the first time they've done small batches of the bourbon. I'm going to be very interested to see which mash bill they use for this, or if they do blendings of the different mash bills, because they have a couple. They have their OG, they have a high rye, they have a wheated. So they have a couple. I don't know if they're going to blend those together. Or again, if we're going to have like 3 or 4 different versions of these purple top small batches. Also interested to see the age on these. It does say distilled, aged, and bottled by them, so this is not going to be their ultra aged source stuff. I'm hoping that it's older than the 3 to 4 year old ryes, because to be honest, the 3 to 4 year old ryes are not the best. But these purple tops that are 10, 12 years old have been really, really good. So I have high hopes that this small batch is older and that we do get some variation of the different mash bills. So this is gonna be one I'm looking out for, especially in this is gonna be depending on the price point. If they can get a decent price point on this, it'll be something I'm willing to try. But Willett does have rather high pricing on their stuff, so I do not expect this to be a cheap bottle by any means. But it's definitely one with how much I love the purple tops that I am willing to give a risk to sample it at least at a bar. So those are some of the bottles that will be coming out in the future or have already been released. Let me know in the comments which of these bottles that you are most interested in trying to get. If you're enjoying this content, before you head out, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any future videos, including my live stream on Wednesday. And before you head out, check out this video here. And until next time, cheers.